The NFL coaching carousel is about to get absolutely insane, and what just leaked about Kevin Stefanski has sent shockwaves rippling through every front office in the league. We're talking about one of the most respected offensive minds in football, a two-time coach of the year, potentially on the move in a way that nobody saw coming. Forget everything you thought you knew about coaching stability, about loyalty, about long-term plans, because what's brewing right now could completely reshape the power structure of the NFL heading into 2026. Kevin Stefanski's future with the Cleveland Browns has been questioned, dissected, and debated for months. But now we're getting reports, whispers from insiders, and predictions that suggest his next destination might already be decided. And if these rumors are true, the team that lands him could instantly transform from pretender to contender, while the Browns are left scrambling to pick up the pieces of yet another organizational catastrophe. Before we blow the lid off this story, if you want every insider scoop, every coaching rumor, and every franchise-altering decision before it happens, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's about to go down. So, let's start with the facts, because Kevin Stefanski's situation in Cleveland has become one of the most complicated, most scrutinized coaching scenarios in the entire NFL. When Stefanski was hired by the Browns in 2020, it felt like the franchise had finally found their guy. He came from Minnesota with a reputation as a brilliant offensive coordinator, someone who could develop quarterbacks, someone who could bring stability to an organization that had churned through coaches like a revolving door. And in his first season, Stefanski delivered. He took a Browns team that had been a laughingstock for decades and led them to the playoffs. He won Coach of the Year. He made believers out of a fan base that had been conditioned to expect nothing but disappointment. It was supposed to be the beginning of a golden era in Cleveland. But then reality set in. The quarterback situation became a nightmare. Baker Mayfield regressed. The relationship between player and coach deteriorated. And eventually, the Browns made the catastrophic decision to trade for Deshaun Watson. That move has haunted the organization ever since, and Stefanski has been caught in the crossfire. He's had to deal with Watson's injuries, his inconsistent play, his off-field controversies, and the constant media circus that surrounds everything related to that contract. The Browns have underachieved year after year despite having talent on the roster, and Stefanski has taken the blame. The criticisms have been relentless. His play calling is too conservative. He can't win big games. He's not the leader the team needs. Fair or not, that's the narrative that's taken hold. And now we're hearing rumblings that Stefanski's time in Cleveland might be coming to an end. Multiple sources with connections to the league have indicated that there are teams already positioning themselves to make a run at Stefanski if he becomes available. And here's the kicker. Some insiders believe that Stefanski himself might be ready to move on. The Browns' job has become toxic. The constant losing, the organizational dysfunction, the impossible quarterback situation, the relentless criticism from fans and media. It grinds people down. Even the strongest coaches reach a breaking point, and there are whispers that Stefanski has reached his. He's put in the work. He's done everything he can with the hand he's been dealt. But at some point, you realize that no matter how hard you try, the situation is unwinnable. So, which team is being mentioned as Stefanski's potential next destination? The names being floated are absolutely fascinating, and each one comes with its own set of storylines and implications. One team that keeps coming up in conversations is the New York Jets. Now, the Jets have been a disaster for years, cycling through coaches and quarterbacks with no success. But they've got young talent, they've got cap space, and most importantly, they've got Aaron Rodgers, assuming he's still around in 2026. Stefanski has a track record of working with veteran quarterbacks, of tailoring his offense to fit their strengths. Imagine what he could do with Rodgers if the two of them were on the same page. The Jets are desperate for stability, desperate for someone who can bring professionalism and structure to an organization that's been rudderless for far too long. Stefanski would instantly make them relevant again. But the Jets aren't the only team in the mix. There's also been chatter about the Chicago Bears, a franchise that's in the middle of a rebuild but has some serious pieces in place. If the Bears have a young franchise quarterback by 2026, whether that's Justin Fields finally reaching his potential or a new draft pick who's shown promise, Stefanski would be the perfect coach to maximize that talent. He's shown in the past that he can develop quarterbacks, that he can create an offensive system that plays to their strengths. The Bears need an offensive guru, someone who can modernize their approach and drag them into the 21st century. Stefanski fits that profile perfectly. Then there's the wild card option that nobody's talking about enough, the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders have been in complete chaos for years, going through coaches and front office executives like they're disposable. But they're in a huge market. They've got ownership that's willing to spend money, and they're in a division where anything is possible. If the Raiders clean house and decide to start fresh, Stefanski would be an incredibly attractive candidate. He could bring the kind of discipline and structure that organization desperately needs. And playing in Vegas with all the resources and spotlight that comes with it might be appealing to a coach who's been grinding away in Cleveland with nothing to show for it.
There's also the possibility that Stefanski ends up back in Minnesota, the place where his coaching career really took off. The Vikings have had their ups and downs, and if they decide to move on from their current coaching staff, bringing Stefanski back would make a ton of sense. He knows the organization, he knows the culture, and he's got relationships throughout that building. It would be a homecoming of sorts, and sometimes those situations work out beautifully. Stefanski could walk into Minnesota with instant credibility, instant respect, and the ability to hit the ground running without the usual adjustment period that comes with a new job. But here's what makes this story even more explosive. Kevin Stefanski hasn't officially been fired by the Browns yet. As of right now, he's still their head coach. So all of this speculation, all of these rumors about his next team, it's happening while he's technically still employed in Cleveland. That tells you everything you need to know about how the league views his situation. Teams are circling like sharks, waiting for blood in the water, preparing their pitches, doing their homework. Because everybody knows that when a coach of Stefanski's caliber becomes available, you have to move fast. The competition for his services will be fierce. And let's talk about why teams are so interested in Stefanski, despite the Browns' struggles. First and foremost, the guy can coach. He's got 2 Coach of the Year awards, and you don't win that award by accident. He's respected by players, he's respected by other coaches around the league, and he's got a track record of maximizing whatever talent he's given. Yes, the Browns have underachieved, but look at the roster he's been working with. The Deshaun Watson situation has been an anchor around his neck. The offensive line has been inconsistent, the defense has had its share of problems. And yet, Stefanski has kept the team competitive in most games, has had them in playoff contention multiple times, and has shown flashes of brilliance when things actually click. Beyond his tactical abilities, Stefanski brings leadership and professionalism. He's not a screamer, he's not a fiery motivator in the traditional sense, but he commands respect through his preparation, his intelligence, and his calm demeanor. In an era where the NFL is filled with volatile personalities and drama, Stefanski represents stability. That's incredibly valuable to organizations that are tired of chaos, tired of headlines, tired of distractions. He's the kind of coach who shows up every day, does the work, and doesn't create problems. For a franchise that's been through turmoil, that quality alone makes him worth pursuing. There's also the financial aspect to consider. If Stefanski gets fired by the Browns, he's still owed the remainder of his contract. That means he could potentially double dip, getting paid by Cleveland while also signing a new lucrative deal with another team. For Stefanski, personally, that's a best-case scenario. He gets financial security, he gets a fresh start, and he gets to prove that the Cleveland situation wasn't his fault. For the team that hires him, they're getting a proven coach at potentially a discount if he's willing to offset some of the money Cleveland owes him. It's a win-win situation for everyone except the Browns. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why would the Browns even consider moving on from Stefanski? The answer is simple. Desperation and frustration. The Browns' ownership and front office are under immense pressure to win. They've invested massive amounts of money, they've traded away draft capital, they've made bold moves, and none of it has worked. At some point, somebody has to take the fall, and in the NFL, it's almost always the head coach, even if the problems run deeper than coaching, and in Cleveland's case, they absolutely do. The coach is the easiest scapegoat. Firing Stefanski would allow the Browns to hit the reset button, to bring in a new voice, to sell fans on hope and change. Whether or not it actually solves anything is debatable, but it gives the appearance of action, and sometimes that's all that matters. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if the Browns don't fire Stefanski? What if he decides to leave on his own terms? There have been rumors that Stefanski is frustrated with the organization, frustrated with the lack of support, frustrated with the Watson situation being forced on him. If that's true, he might simply decide that enough is enough and walk away. That would be unprecedented for a coach of his stature to voluntarily leave a job, but these are unprecedented circumstances. And if Stefanski does walk away, it sends a powerful message that the Browns are such a dysfunctional organization that even a two-time Coach of the Year doesn't want to be there anymore.
The timing of all this is crucial because we're heading into 2026 and the NFL coaching market is going to be wild. There are several teams that are likely to have openings, several organizations that are on the verge of making major changes. If Stefanski becomes available, he'll immediately be the most sought-after candidate on the market. Teams will be lining up to interview him, owners will be throwing money at him, and he'll have his pick of situations. That's a powerful position to be in, and Stefanski knows it. He can afford to be selective, to choose a team that has a real quarterback, a solid roster, and a functional front office. He doesn't have to settle for another rebuilding project or another impossible situation. Let's dive into what Stefanski would bring to whichever team lands him. First, you're getting an offensive mind who understands modern football. He's creative, he's adaptable, and he's not stuck in outdated philosophies. He'll use motion, he'll use play action, he'll attack defenses in ways that keep them off balance. He's not afraid to take shots down the field, but he's also disciplined enough to know when to take what the defense gives you. That balance is rare, and it's what makes his offenses so difficult to defend. Even in Cleveland, with all the limitations they've had, you could see glimpses of what his offense is capable of when it's firing on all cylinders. Second, Stefanski is a quarterback developer. He worked wonders with Case Keenum in Minnesota. He had Baker Mayfield playing at an MVP level for stretches in Cleveland, and he's managed to get decent production out of Deshaun Watson despite all the chaos. Whichever team hires him will be confident that he can maximize their quarterback situation, whether that's elevating a veteran or developing a young player. In today's NFL, where everything revolves around the quarterback position, having a coach who can get the most out of that player is absolutely critical. Third, he brings organizational stability. Stefanski is not going to create drama, he's not going to throw players under the bus, he's not going to make excuses. He's accountable, he's professional, and he understands how to build a culture. Those intangibles matter more than people realize. A toxic locker room can destroy even the most talented roster, but a healthy culture can elevate average talent into winners. Stefanski knows how to create that environment, and teams value that immensely. The fallout from Stefanski leaving Cleveland would be massive. It would signal yet another failure for a franchise that's become synonymous with dysfunction. It would raise serious questions about ownership, about the front office, about the entire organizational structure. How many coaches do you have to go through before you realize the problem isn't the coach? The Browns have had so much turnover, so many fresh starts, so many promises of this time it'll be different, and yet nothing ever changes. If Stefanski walks away or gets pushed out, it just confirms what everyone already suspects, that Cleveland is a graveyard for coaching careers, a place where even talented people can't succeed because the foundation is rotten.
For Stefanski personally, this move could define his legacy. If he lands with the right team and finds success, he'll be vindicated. He'll prove that he was never the problem in Cleveland, that he was a great coach stuck in an impossible situation. On the other hand, if he struggles in his next stop, the narrative will shift. People will start questioning whether those Coach of the Year awards were flukes, whether he's overrated, whether Cleveland's failures really were his fault after all. There's a lot riding on this next chapter of his career, and Stefanski knows it. That's why he'll be incredibly careful about where he goes, making sure he's walking into a situation where he actually has a chance to win. The league is watching this situation closely because it's about more than just one coach and one team. It's about the broader issue of coaching turnover, of organizations having unrealistic expectations, of talented people being set up to fail. Kevin Stefanski represents a cautionary tale about what happens when you try to build a winner without a functional foundation. But he also represents hope. Hope that a fresh start, a better situation, a more supportive organization can unlock the potential that everyone knows is there. As we move closer to 2026, the Kevin Stefanski saga is going to dominate headlines. Every team with a coaching vacancy will be linked to him. Every comment he makes will be dissected for clues about his future. Every loss the Browns suffer will fuel speculation that his time in Cleveland is coming to an end. And when he finally does land somewhere new, it's going to be one of the biggest stories of the offseason. Because this isn't just about a coaching change, it's about a chess piece moving on the board that could fundamentally alter the balance of power in the NFL. Disclaimer: the information presented in this story is based on reports, insider speculation, industry sources, and ongoing developments surrounding Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns. Details are subject to change as the 2025 season progresses and official announcements are made regarding coaching decisions.